Welcome to a new week here on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Micciche. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans, about 64%, worry more about running out of money than death. That's according to a 2025 annual retirement survey from Allianz Center for the Future of Retirement. Now, last week I talked about this at length. And so this week, I want to continue that conversation and talk about one of the unfortunate and all too common outcomes of that deep fear of running out of money in retirement, which is being overly frugal, not enjoying your retirement years because you underspend. Now, I've always been fairly frugal and very future oriented. And in my 20s, I didn't do a lot of the things that most people my age were doing. I wasn't going out very often. In fact, whenever I would go out, I would stress. I'd get like an appetizer instead of an actual meal. And I would get like one drink and I liked cocktails, but I would pick like, what is the cheapest cocktail I can get? How can I keep my total spend here under $20, which was actually realistic back then? I didn't do those things. I wasn't going out. I wasn't spending very freely at all. I hardly traveled. Basically, all I did was I went to work, I played golf, I went home, repeat. And I was also aggressively saving at this time. And I was really, really focused on work and trying to grow my career. And back then, I knew enough being a finance major and a financial advisor. I knew enough about money and I had time on my side. So I was like, I better save and invest as much as possible. Trip to Hawaii, be damned, because the $5,000 that I'm saving in my 401k this year and not doing much travel or any at all is what was going to be the key to growing my assets that I did save. I knew that like that $5,000 that I saved and didn't spend on a Hawaii vacation, that's going to be worth about $100,000 when I'm wanting to retire. You're welcome, future Ashley. And now that I'm in my 40s, I am grateful for these choices because I'm not struggling financially like a lot of people are who had a lot of fun in their early adult years. I'm more established in my career. I'm earning a good income. I can provide for my family comfortably, and I'm not relying on any outside help. And so prioritizing my future self over my present self has paid off in some big and important ways. And I would imagine for many of you listening to this podcast, if you have been saving aggressively or even just consistently and being prudent with your money over the many decades that you've been working, you probably relate somewhat to that mindset. But that mindset of prioritizing your future self over your present self can also backfire. I have lots of examples of ways that I also deprive my current self, and I do that unnecessarily. So a funny example of this is in my kids' playroom, we have this TV cabinet, and I bought it when we purchased our first house. So this thing's like 16 going on 17 years old, and it's falling apart. It has 2 doors on the front and the hinges are totally broken. One of the doors is literally just leaning up. It's off the hinge completely and it's leaning up against the cabinet. I occasionally will fix it with duct tape and that'll hold it together for like 4 days. And then my 4-year-old will ream on it and the doors will come completely off again, which is exactly what happened just the other day. And at that moment, I'm actually sitting there writing some of the talking points for this podcast when that happened. And I thought to myself, this is so ridiculous. This little TV media cabinet has been limping along for years. I actually should have replaced it. I mean, these issues have started years ago. It would have been better to replace it a long time ago. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Why am I still living with this thing? And I've been putting off replacing this for a lot of reasons. I tell myself it's a waste of money because anything that I buy, if I go the cheap route because I know my kids are going to abuse it, then it's going to last like 2 years before I have to replace it again because of the poor construction quality. If I buy something more expensive, better quality, that also is going to get ruined. Maybe not in 2 years, but in like 5 years. I really don't want to spend the money on anything because of where it is, my kids' playroom, and I know it's going to just get destroyed. So I put up with the frustration instead and the duct tape that I'm spending on it instead. And it's not just this cabinet. I do this with lots of other things too. I delay things that I genuinely need or I know would serve me or my family well, because I'd rather just save more money, not spend as much, prioritize future Ashley over current Ashley. But sometimes the current me deserves better. And sometimes the responsible choice is not more duct tape, it's just replacing the cabinet. So after this happened, I finally added a new TV cabinet to my list of things to shop for. And I actually, this morning, as I got ready to record this podcast, I actually went upstairs and I measured the TV and the height from the TV from the ground so I could actually buy the right size cabinet. I have no more excuses to putting it off. So this week on the podcast, I'm going to talk about why frugal-minded people struggle so much with spending in retirement. Very common problem. If this is you, you are not alone. I'll talk about finding balance between overspending and over-frugality, because the key lies in the balance, not in spending frivolously and spending your retirement nest egg down to zero. We don't want to do that, but we want to strike that right balance. And so I'll talk about ways that you can find that balance. I'll talk about how to explore your values to make sure that you're spending in a way that is fulfilling and meaningful to you and that brings you satisfaction in retirement. I'll talk about specific strategies that can really help you get off the fence and make that shift easier from saving and investing to now spending in retirement without ruining your retirement security. And then lastly, I'll talk about a couple of unexpected ways that can help you overcome frugality or over frugality. Frugal is good. Over frugal is not good. But giving and generosity can help bring joy with spending. And I'll explain that a little bit later on this week. So if you're new to the podcast, a little bit about me. I'm a financial advisor and co-owner of True North Retirement Advisors, a fee-only fiduciary financial advisory practice managing over $450 million in client assets. For the last 17 years, I've helped my clients retire with confidence, and it'll be 18 years actually this week in a couple days. So on this podcast, I turn complex retirement questions into clear answers in just a few minutes each and every day, so you can spend less time stressing about money and more time living. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you know someone who'd be interested in this week's topic, please share the show. If you have a question about your own retirement, you can check out my website, truenorthra.com. There you can book a free 15-minute call with me about anything on your mind regarding your retirement. All right, come on back tomorrow. I'm going to talk about why it is so hard. Why it's so hard to spend in retirement. I get it. I have the same problems. And we'll talk about why that is, help you explore that in your own situation so you can make better decisions about spending money and stop being so frugal. All right, my name is Ashley Micciche, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.